In your name we pray, and in your name we praise. Jesus, amen.
Amen.
Okay. So
You have a bald head.
I do. Proud of it. Boom. Hello. 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 This is another episode, the second episode of the Gospel Disciples. I am Benjamin Isaiah Black, and with me today is
Gabriel Black. Y'all don't need to know my middle name.
You don't want to share?
I don't know y'all like that.
Well, let's see. So today, this episode is a little late. Production issues. I apologize for that. But we thought that it'd be fun if we talked about what is currently, as of this moment, Kirk Franklin's latest album. As of right now, it's been out for about a month. His latest album, Father's Day. For those who don't know, this physical thing that I have in my hand right now is what's called a CD. It's like music, but you can hold it.
You're so old for that.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I do not I do not regret that one bit. There was a lot of excitement when we heard that there was another album coming out. I would have heard it regardless, but something in particular about this album, which I don't recall, I don't think that there was any other build up to any of his other albums. This one had a particular bit of excitement leading up to its release because 2 weeks before this album came out, on September 22nd, there was a documentary that Kirk released on his YouTube page with the same name, Father's Day, and it gave some insight into what was going on during the making of this album. If you don't know Kirk Franklin's story, in a quick nutshell, he was adopted by a 64-year-old woman when he was 4 years old, and he only saw his father a very small handful of times in his life. His mother kept coming in and out of his life. Because of that, he's developed insecurities. And deep issues that he's still going through today. But earlier this year, in the making of this album, he had a videographer as he was making the album, just to show a full-time videographer, which is the first time he ever had that. So he was able to show what was going on during the making of this album. And it just so happened that during that process, he found out that there may be someone who is actually his biological father. Not the person he thought was his father, but somebody who is actually his biological father, a man by the name of Richard Hubbard. And that flipped his world upside down, to say the least. On top of that, his mother, his biological mother, when she heard that, she rejected that. She said, "This is not true. This man is not your father." Prior to her saying that, the man had already given Kirk swabs so that he could do a DNA test, just so he could do whatever he wanted to do with it, because he thought that if anyone has a right to know, Kirk does. So the DNA test came back a for sure definite that Mr. Hubbard, Mr. Rick, is Kirk's father. His mother, Deborah, rejected that. And so they took a second DNA test. That test also confirmed that Mr. Rick is Kirk's father. His mother, Deborah, still denied it for reasons that weren't necessarily explained in the documentary, but I think that if we really wanted to go in deep, we could theorize why she didn't accept it, but that put a bit more of a strain in their relationship, unfortunately. But the nice thing about that documentary, in the midst of all of that, was the reunion that Kirk was able to have with his oldest son, Carry-On. We knew in the past few years that there was some friction between them, and so with this information coming out, who Kirk's father really was, the identity of his true father, they were able to start patching things up and start fixing things. So it was definitely a documentary of emotions, so many feelings. What did you think about it, Gabriel? What did you think when you saw it?
Yeah, it was, to say emotional is to like say the least. I was just talking to some people at my church about it, and they were like, hey, this is, I was like, the first 8 to 10 minutes was so, like, it was so dramatic, and not like in the form of like, oh, Kirk is being like, not in a negative connotation, but like, it was met with so many emotions, like so much drama, so much intrigue, so much like heartache, so much within like the first 8 to 10 minutes. So we see somebody who has a whole lot of trauma, right? And we see how trauma begots trauma. So it was really beautiful to see somebody like really trying to face his giants, including um including the one of like trying not to pass on his trauma to his son.
Yeah.
The other things some of the other people were saying was like, yeah, Kirk is doing a whole lot, done a whole lot of putting himself out there, or like this is a big thing, putting himself out there. And I was like, well, yeah, Kirk has always put himself out there.
Yes, yeah.
If you think about like his whole career of whether it's Rebirth, the first track off of Rebirth, whether it's the first track off of New Nation, where it's like hearing how the church came to sue him or came after him or thought he was super ungodly, or whether it was off of What You're Looking For, Mama's song off of What You're Looking For, like super transparent and super just out there. If you look at any of his interviews, if you look at any of his, like how he just shows up in the world, this is a super transparent person.
Yeah.
So like this time, it was just doing it through a different medium. Normally he does it through his music. This time he did it through the medium of a documentary. So I thought that was very interesting, which did do a really good job of leading up to the album.
Something he said in the documentary, I know that sat with me, and I know it sat with other people as well. A quote he said is, "I don't know who I am well because I've always known me broken." And I think the entire documentary, as well as that line alone, I think that they both do a really, really good job in conveying something that through his music, through his ministry, through his life, and in interviews and everything else that he has released, books and everything else. It shows something that Kirk has already been conveying, which is that we're not going to think the same. We're not going to behave the same. We're not always going to agree. There are certain things that we may butt heads on. We're not monolithic. We as people are not monolithic. So oftentimes you'll hear folks in the church say, "Oh, you can't do that because you're saved." Even people outside of the church, even people who aren't saved, they'll say, "Oh, you can't do that if you're a Christian. You can't talk like this. You can't dress like that. You can't, whatever." And yes, there are certain things that we need to make sure that we're staying pure in. We need to make sure that we're staying pure and that we're staying close to God in all things. But to say that my my style is ungodly because it's different from your style, that that I think is something that Kirk has demonstrated throughout his life, throughout his career, that whatever your style is, whatever your personality is, give that to God for him to use. Whether if we're talking about music, if you do R&B music, there's nothing wrong with that. Give your R&B music to God. If you do classical, give that to God. If you do funk, if you do reggae, if you do pop, if you do rock, whatever it is, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that style of music, but give it to God. And so if we can do that in music, we ought to be able to do that in life as well. Whatever our personality, whatever our mindset, whatever our style is, give that to God. And I think that this documentary shows that, because it shows that with each of us, we have our own struggles, we have our own cross to bear. My cross isn't going to be your cross. The fact of the matter is, we both have crosses.
Just off of the idea of like, we're not monolithic. Like, God made him a creative because he made him in the image of himself, of God. So like, God is too creative to just be like, all right, 3-piece suit every Sunday, be churchy in attire and stature and verbiage.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yep.
That's what everybody's gonna be. Like, God's way too creative. Like, God made giraffes and penguins. Those don't do the same, like those don't look the same at all. Yep. So like, how are we going to tell the people of God to not represent him and be creative in the same way that he was?
That's right.
I mentioned this a different time, like when Paul was, it almost dawned on me, like Paul had this idea of like, hey, when I'm with the Jewish people, when I'm with Jewish folk, I'm gonna do Jewish stuff. I'm also a citizen of Rome. So when I'm with the Romans, I'm gonna do the Roman stuff. Not out of trying to blend in, but in a standpoint of like, I'm going to try and permeate. When I'm over in Asia, I'm gonna do stuff proper of their culture. But again, not trying to fit in, but in the idea that I want to permeate Christ in every culture. And the best way to do that is to first understand that culture, but also then to like infuse it with the gospel. And that's the whole point, is to be able to go into all the world, make disciples, tell the good news, all of that good stuff. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to be able to do that if you don't know somebody's language.
Yeah.
So if the first thing is language, Kirk has then started to speak the language of everybody, of the club, of rock, of CCM now, of all of this. Like he's speaking the language, he's speaking the culture, he's speaking all of that.
I keep hearing people say that, but I never knew what it was. What does CCM stand for?
Christian contemporary music or contemporary Christian music, something like that.
Okay.
It used to be like gospel and Christian music, which was like covert ways to say black and white music. Right. Gospel was black, Christian music was white. And right. Now we're in like a merging of them. But like he's entered that world and he's able to speak all of those languages, but also not just all of those worlds as genres or as culture or as world, so to speak, but he's also entered the world of emotion where he shows pain. To the brokenhearted, he says, oh yeah, I have a broken heart too, and I still serve God.
Yeah.
To the happy, he's still like, hey, by the way, I smile and I still serve God. To the to the fatherless, he still says, hey, I am in pain over this. I am in trauma. I am quite literally in therapy over this.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to offer that to God. And it's also not God's going to solve everything. He's in control. So I'm just going to take my hand off it. No, it's not either one of those extremes. What Kirk does and what he demonstrates beautifully is still having a heart for God. It's still chasing after God, regardless of still being like, hey, God, this sucks and I don't get it. Hey, buddy, I need an answer. What's going on? But until you give me an answer, I still believe that you're good. You're sovereign. You know what's going on. I'm gonna lay this in your hands. I'm really struggling with this, but I'm not going to, I know I don't have to carry this by myself.
Yes.
To me, which is the best part about what Kirk is doing, to what you were saying, like of just giving it to God. He not only gave his heart and his talents and his skills to God, but he truly gave his anxiety, his issues, his trauma. He gave everything to God.
Yeah. I'll say this and then unless there's anything else you have to add on to it, then we'll get into the album itself. But I think to that point, stepping a bit from the documentary, a bit from the album and everything, I think that to that point, what you just described is the perfect sum up of really what this journey with God is, what our walk with God is, what it should be, is that for every difficulty that we express, that we encounter, that we experience, in life. Keep walking with God. Keep walking with God, you know. Jesus never said that we weren't going to have any difficulties. He never promised that this life was going to be easy. He said, no, he said, um, in this world you're going to have tribulations. He knew that because when he was walking in this world on this side of life, he had tribulations. If he wasn't spared tribulations, then why in the world should we think that we would be spared of them?
Hey, bro, Jesus was about to get stoned left and right, bro.
Yes.
But even to what you just said, like in the garden, right before everything happened, he's like, hey, God, I don't want to do this. If we're being completely honest,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, take this cup from me.
Yes.
The whole point is like, while Jesus was walking his cross over there, while David was in the middle of a cave, and while Kirk is in the middle of his trauma, there's a plan and a will of God that's happening.
Yes.
That we can trust that God knows it all and God actually will not, you know what I'm saying? Like he ain't gonna like just leave us out there for no reason.
Everything that happens to us, things happen to people all the time. But those things that happen to us, they should push us closer to God. Something that Kirk has said often in interviews and videos and things of that nature. It should push us to be more vertical, to look up, to look to God. And that's what makes us stronger. That's what makes us stronger. So yeah, that to God be the glory for that. With that, let's go ahead. Let's dive into the album. And discuss what it is that we think about it. I think it's worth saying, it's worth noting that this album, which was released October 6th, 2023, this came out 30 years after his original album, Kirk Franklin and the Family. So as of this year, Kirk Franklin has been making music. I mean, of course, he's been writing music longer than that, but as far as releasing music under his name with his own albums, he's been making music. He's been making albums for 3 decades now, which
Yeah.
is crazy to think about. I know that we were, I was one when Kirk Franklin and the Family came out. You hadn't even been born yet. So I think people like us, people especially in our generation, as of right now, we can't imagine a world without Kirk's music.
Kirk has been making music for so long that he became contemporary. Think about how cutting edge and pushing music forward he used to be. And
Mhm.
now he's contemporary because he set the bar here so long ago that now kids look at Kirk Franklin as like, you know, that normal like Kirk sound, the 3-part harmony where they do the thing, and like now he's just normal contemporary music, whereas before he was like cutting edge, raising the bar, and now he is the bar. Like that's kind of crazy.
And just like with every album, I think the thing that stands out the most in Kirk Franklin's songs, there are so many things to enjoy about it music wise. I think the songwriting is at the core. There are different artists you listen to and you enjoy their music, whether it be gospel, whether it be any other genre of music. There are different artists you listen to, and there are different things that you appreciate about them, whether it be one thing, whether it be several things. But it's not always songwriting. With Kirk Franklin, it's always songwriting. There are many other things to appreciate about the music that he produces, but at the core of it is songwriting. And so I really love being able to delve into the song and listen to the song, pay attention to the composition of it, pay attention to the lyrics of it, especially the lyrics, and see what these songs are about, what they're saying, and how they make us feel. So with that, let's take a look at these songs. Let's take a look at this album track by track here. The first one is Welcome Home. He has this beautiful line at the beginning of it. I love what he says. He says, "Welcome to the duality of reality, where sunshine and rain coexist to grow."
Yeah, that is a hard bar, by the way.
Mhm.
But yeah, like you said, it just brings up the idea that like everybody thinks that it's just gonna be sunshines and rainbows. And in reality, like if it's just sunshines and rainbows, like things wouldn't grow.
Mhm.
Kirk can make music. The
Yes.
music on it was really good. And like when I finally heard, like I think the first time I heard it, I kind of just glossed over it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is what's up. And then like re-listened to it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a bop. And it was cool, don't get me wrong. But then the end happened.
I was gonna say the song as a whole, I like. I don't love it. I like it. I rock with it. It's one of those songs where if it came on and you let it play, I'd be like, cool, this is where we are. If you skipped it, I wouldn't be that upset. But the ending, yes, that's where it really, really, really hits.
Yeah, like musically, you're also hearing duality.
Yes.
Because it's almost like this whole thing is like, oh yeah, this is a bop, like this is cool. But then it kind of has like this darker moment at the end, and it almost feels like it's leading up to this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm also like now when I hear it, I'm like, all right, yeah, this is good, but like,
Yeah.
and then like it's at the end where I'm like, all right, this is to me the coldest part of the song.
It's really interesting because the not all of the voices, but some of the vocals you hear that they're kind of distorted. If it were any other genre of music, I could imagine somebody saying, "Oh, this sounds demonic," and maybe I can't say for sure. I don't know for sure, of course, obviously, but maybe that was kind of the intention because it's the idea of when I heard it again, it was like the idea of leaving this demonic place and pleading to get to this better place. I'm tired of being down here.
I didn't feel that artistic interpretation, but that's really cool. I did get to like rapture, so it did feel like choir is getting more passionate and more pleading, but not like from that bass tone. That bass tone almost felt to me like a grand, like angelic, like welcome home.
So that's Welcome Home. The one after that is Try Love, which is actually the second single that was released from this album. We'll get to the first one in a second, but after the first song from this album was released as a single. At that time, I don't know about you, I wasn't hip to social media, so if there was any word about that, then I didn't hear it. I heard that song as a single, and since there wasn't any announcement about an album, I just thought, okay, this is a single, which I really liked. Again, we'll get to that song in a moment. But then he released this song as a single. So two singles released close to each other. I was like, okay, so an album is coming, right? Try Love. Again, overall, I like it. It's cool. It's cool.
Out of all the songs on the album, out of the whole album, to be honest, the only thing I didn't like was that hard beat switch. I didn't need that. This was the only song where I'm like, ah.
There is another song on this album that does so, and we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, that had a smoother transition. This one wasn't as smooth, so you're right. I didn't necessarily care for it myself. Something that they say at the end of the song, which he's said before in other songs, another song that I know that you really enjoy. He says, "Don't you know that you just may be the only Jesus that they see?"
Bars.
Yeah. So in terms of offering God's real love, what does that look like? You know, it's easy for us. It's easy for us to just go in our day-to-day thinking about ourselves and what we need. But if we see somebody who is in need, what do we offer them? What do we do for them? You know, consider that. It's something that we have to consider and think about every day. People need Jesus. Where can people find Jesus? They'd better see it in us. So let's show them his love. And then the next song on the album is All Things. This is the first album that was released, the first single that was released. In my opinion, my humble opinion, this is where the album turns on. So All Things, I love this song. This is a song that talks about God's strength and God's power. We hear that verse. It's one of the verses that you hear all the time. That you know, those verses that say God can do all things are possible with God. But to hear that, to hear something like this song and be reminded, no, he can do anything. He can come through in anything. I love the line. God can do all things, all the big and the small things.
For somebody, and I keep, obviously coming off the heels of the documentary, putting in perspective of Kirk, of like, how much does he need this reminder? How much do people going through his similar situation, how much do they need a reminder of like, hey, you know what? Getting out of bed this morning was kind of hard. Like, I don't even really want to, I really don't want to function today. After thinking about all of the things, not only do you have to do today, but all the things going on in your life in general. And then you get a little reminder of like, no, yeah, he can still do all things. The situation that you're still looking at is like really rocky and really iffy. But do you believe that he can do all things?
Yeah.
Or maybe you need a reminder he can do all things. Boom.
He said, talking about doors you've never seen, blessings on blessings for you to receive. Just to think about, we often say God will open doors for you, but to hear talking about doors you've never seen,
It's true.
Like you can't imagine what God's gonna do. You can't imagine it, but believe that it's coming. Or something else that he said, just because he's silent doesn't mean he's still. He's not only preparing it for you, he's preparing you for it. So even what you're going through right now, there's purpose for it. There's a reason for it.
Like the blessing is coming, but we got to make sure our heart is right, which is valid. Yeah. Big facts.
Yes.
But also the other side of like, hey, this space that is being prepared for you, like somebody might be sitting in your seat and I got to move them out of the way. I might have to shift this over here. I need, especially for you not to just, be here, but for you to thrive in this space. Let me prepare this thing for you. Let me flip some things around for you, make room for you. You think it's you think God's not hearing you, but it's actually like, no, I'm really working. Take it easy, buddy. I got to get some stuff ready for you.
After this, needs. Track number 4, needs. I love needs. The note I took for this, I said I could quote this entire song. The words are that good.
I need peace. I need grace. I need strength for one more day. I need patience for this race. I need Jesus. Also think about from Kirk's perspective of like, where he is in his life, like especially coming off the documentary, like he needs peace.
Yes.
Did you see his family? He needs grace.
Yes. What I love about it, the last song, All Things, that was a reminder of what God does. This song is a reminder of who God is. All of these things that he mentioned, again, he said peace, grace, strength for one more day, patience for this race. And then you sum it all up. You say, okay, these are the things that I need. If I had to sum all of these things up in just one word or one name,
Jesus. Easy. Just
give me Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Jesus. That's what I need. All of those things I find in him. I love that. I don't have to go to all of these other places to try to get these things. I need a lot of things. I don't have to go to all of these different places. I don't have to go to the left for peace. I don't have to go to the right for grace. I don't have to go uptown, downtown, or wherever for all these other things. I can go straight to the throne, Jesus, and he's got it. Another line that I don't think I really heard until either last night or the night before. It says, keep your trends, they will change. Material things, they quickly fade. Keep your empty prayers. I'm okay. I've got Jesus.
And to me, it covers both sides of the spectrum of like, even in church or out of church, of like people who like are people do want to do church in a new progressive way, or like, all of this new stuff, or just, in life, like there's so many trends in culture. There's so many trends to do, like baggy pants and baggy clothes are making a comeback. That's a trend right now. I miss the skinny jeans era, by the way. But anyway, like all of that is a trend right now. But the only thing that will remain,
yes,
is Jesus. At the end of the day, if we're not talking about the one thing that's going to be the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, then I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
because it's not going to be the same tomorrow.
Yeah.
If we're not attaching ourselves to the one constant thing. But that's on like the more progressive side. But also some of these traditional saints be throwing out these empty prayers.
Yeah.
You be hearing some empty prayers or cliche sayings or the typical like, oh, you have an issue. You know what you should try. You should read and it's like, hey, bro, I don't need nothing cliche right now.
Yeah.
Like right now, the main thing that we are seeing in church that actually makes a lot of sense is especially a lot of young people saying, hey, I don't need a whole lot of this and that. I don't need these antics. I don't need empty prayers or cliche counsel or hooting and hollering. We like Gen Z kids, and it's probably even going to be crazier for the generation after that, are just like, hey, you want to learn about the Bible, you want to learn about Jesus. All that, if everything else falls under that, cool. But if it doesn't, and younger people are calling out antics faster than ever.
Yep.
So, but at the end of the day, what are we talking about?
Yep.
If it's not Jesus, it can be church, but it could not be Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. Next song. Also, let me say this real quick. I know I sounded old earlier. I'm gonna sound old again. I don't care. When it comes to CDs, the way that they do the booklets here now sucks. There used to be a time where we'd open the booklet and we'd be able to get the words for the songs. We'd be able to read along. Now you just get this thing. You get the song list and you open it up and there's just, aside from the credits, there's just nothing else. I want some words.
Old Man Black is very upset.
I just want I want words here. I want to see them. This is how they used to look, guys. Can we get back to that?
Benjamin, the fact that you brought out that book just to make a point, because you had that very much ready.
I did.
That made you, that was one of the oldest things I've seen you do.
I'm not ashamed
just for the sake of complaining.
I did.
The fact that you have the CD in the first place is impressive, but also old, because I have it here. Like a normal human, where I can play it anywhere I want.
I just wanted to support Kirk Franklin more. It was like, let me just, I got it on Spotify. Let me also get the CD. But with that, I'm glad the CD is good enough itself. This is great. This is fantastic. Can we just get back to words? Why did we lose this?
Google it.
I didn't. I don't want to. I don't want to Google this anymore. Google doesn't need to know what I want. Then it'll start sending me ads for stuff. Stupid Google.
You just went from 55 to 65 so fast.
Anywho, next one, track number 5, You Still Love Us, which is another song about God's love. We had one song about God's love on this album alone already, so now here's another one. This one has a nice groove to it, though, and I like it. I like this vibe. Even when it first starts, da 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 da, da da da. It's like, okay, you've got my attention, and as the song keeps going, it keeps your attention.
You scat like an old man.
I'll take that. I'm fine with that. I don't care. This is the song that I was referring to earlier when I said that, much like Try Love, there's something in the middle where it changes, but it still fits the structure of the song. It's not a jarring change.
It still works here. Yeah. Try Love just didn't work.
And that being said, that middle section is one of the things that I like most about the song. The lyrics there, they said, since I was a kid, which is appropriate because they're children's voices. But it says, since I was a kid, I heard about you, was taught to fear your name and never doubt you. But honestly, I couldn't be around you without thinking that all you ever saw was my wrong. It's crazy. I thought you exist to judge me, but now I see that you created me to love me. finally forget what they said about you. Now you have my heart. It's where you belong. I think the idea we hear it all the time, but to actually think the idea of offering your heart to God, saying, God, this is where I want you to call. This is what I want you to call home. I give this to you. That's just the thought of that is just such a beautiful, beautiful thought to say, God, I need you to take my heart and live there and make it clean, make it fresh, make it new, because you can do something with it far better than I can. I just think that's beautiful.
I like it made the kid in me who used to make beats on the table in class. It made me really happy. I always like that trash can sound in the drums.
Hmm.
Or I don't know if it's trash can or whatever that sound is. Um, anything around that type of sound in drums, it makes me happy as a child. Like my inner child is very happy.
Just right at the end when there's no more when the instruments are gone and it's just the vocals, it's just the choir. I just really love that harmony. I just really love that harmony there. And that's one of the things that lets you that reminds you, if it wasn't already abundantly clear from listening to the rest of Kirk's musical library, if you needed any evidence, I think that part reminds you that Kirk's not just that Kirk is an artist, because it takes an artist to be able to say this harmony is how this needs to fit here. An artist is able to do that, and I really enjoy it for that. Track number 6, Listen. Listen, a song about listening to and listening for God's voice. Um, Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but goodness, do I love this song. And I think one reason I love this song so much, I like I said, I love so many of these songs, and I feel like I need so many of these songs, but this one in particular, I feel like spoke the most to me in regards to what I have going on in life right now, where I really need to listen to God's voice, where I really need to listen for God's voice. I love this song, and it's got such a beautifully haunting melody. It feels like the music is trying to lift you. It sounds like the music is descending, and it's kind of trying to push you up and force you up so that your perspective is up here, focusing on God to listen to his voice. That's what it feels like.
It has, yeah, to like what you were saying, like this really pure, beautiful tone and kind of like break or moment in this album. I don't want to say break, but especially coming off of You Still Love Us. It has like a clearing, like almost like a focusing moment. Of like, hey, like it kind of reminds me of like when people be on fasts and it's like, hey, um, right here, you and me, buddy. Like, where it's just cutting out a lot of extra things, and it's just like a one-on-one moment with God. Or like, just I have to listen to you.
A few lyrics that really stood out to me in this. I can't keep up with you. Help me know what's true. Lies have become believable. So, God, I need you to help me focus on you, because so many people are saying different things and I don't know what to trust anymore. Um, Goodness, I love that. I know I can relate to that. Also, in the song, they have the voice of God speak, and have him say, I can't give up on you. Your tendencies I knew, which makes each nail more beautiful. Like, this is why I died for you.
Yeah.
I and then finally, this one that really brings it home for me, urging us to listen. It says, listen, you speak but don't listen. That's why you keep missing the beautiful things that heaven has for you. Like, remember, prayer is not just a one-sided monologue or
Yeah.
lecture, you know.
That's what I was thinking about when you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, God wants to speak to us. He wants a conversation going.
That's to listen.
God's got something to say.
Yeah.
You do a lot of talking to God, which is great, but can you also listen to him? Can you also let him talk? And then next track, Unconditional, which features Leandria Johnson. Um, this is another song about God's love. I think this is the third. Technically, I mean, of course, technically, you can say all of these songs are about God's love, but when talking about their themes, this one is they're this is the third song that is so obviously about God's love on this album. And Kirk often talks about God's love in all of his albums. And I think, again, in context of the documentary, it kind of makes sense. I feel like it's something that Kirk accepts, something that Kirk knows, but also in the midst of everything that he goes through is something that he searches for.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Right
Yeah.
when you said that, of like, this is probably him still writing, uh, writing his feelings out, like still longing for, love, and like even the no, obviously, cognitively knowing that that God loves him and God holds him up and God's right there with him and all that, but still not being able to tangibly feel that because of the mental space or the circumstances that he's in the middle of, especially right now.
I really like this song. It feels like it reminds me, speaking of songs about God's love, it reminds me of a song. It's ironic that I have this album also sitting here because it reminds me of a song from that album, He Loves Me. Um it sounds like the vibe of this song, it sounds reminiscent of what Kirk has done while also being new and fresh and current as well. So I really like that. I really like the blend of something familiar and something new. A couple lyrics that stood out in this song. I think within the chorus, I think it is Leandria keeps saying, "He loves me, this I know. He loves me. Each breath I take, it shows." Um, just a reminder, we often, whenever we think about love and giving love to others, showing love to others, we often think, well, what do I need to do? What grand gesture can I do? What gift can I give, or what can I do in order to make things more convenient for you? What can I do to show that I love you? And I think sometimes we might look for that in God as well. When we want to tell people, hey, let me tell you about the love of God. Let me tell you about these great big things that he's done. And yes, he does do great big things to show he loves us, but also take a breath. That was God.
That reminds me of the like, well, what did he do for you? He woke you up this morning.
Mm-hmm. Yep, started me on my way.
Nope. He woke you up this morning.
Just there.
You can stop there. You
You
know what I'm
can,
saying? But like that's
yeah.
to me, it's identical of like you have breath in your body.
And then the next two songs, because we have Again, and then we have Again and Again.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, man. This we can talk about the whole album all day, but like this song, these two songs together, this is what I was waiting for. Again and again and again are like, to me, these are the best songs on the whole album.
Mm.
These are like legitimately like I can. The first time I heard it, I didn't even know that the second that Again and Again came on. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh wait, I had to go back and I was like, where did this even start? It felt like one long song,
Yeah.
but it was so good.
Yes.
And it just keeps going up so much. Like, for one, it kind of reminds you of like what he did on one of his early albums, Hello Fear, where it was like moment one and moment two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, it kind of felt like it was the same song, but this one was like legit seamless
Yes.
that I didn't even know that the track changed. But like, even in Again and Again felt like such a good sequel, but it also keeps going up. Like, it doesn't slow down. Again starts off so beautiful where you're connecting to the emotion of the lyrics, but then the music of Again and Again in the choir amping up, it just goes crazy.
I love it when albums do that. I love it when seem like one, when they can take two tracks and they seem like one, just one long coherent track. I really, really love that. What's funny about that is that again features Chandler Moore, Tori Kelly, Jonathan McReynolds, and I hope I'm saying this name right, Jacqueline Carr. And again features Miranda Curtis and Kalante Gavin. If you weren't really paying attention to the voices, to the sound of the voices, you might think, again, going with the idea that again and again and again sound like one long song, you might not even notice that again and again features different artists than again does.
Like if you go to like live Christian Christian shows or concerts or whatnot, like, you know, sometimes they'll do like a mic toss where like they'll let like random people like just come up and like lead the song, or they'll like take the mic out to them and take a mic to multiple people. Like this is low-key what it felt like just tossing the mic around and saying like, hey, what, like go ahead, put this, like do something, sing.
Throughout this entire album, all of the singers are fantastic, which is not uncommon for a Kirk Franklin album. Of course, every singer that he's gotten for every one of his albums have always been great, but again, it'd be foolish not to bring up the quality of the vocalists on this entire album. And again, especially here on Again and Again and Again, they kill it. They just knock it out the park. But yeah, I love that. So this is a song about God's provision and his power. And one thing that I love about these songs is that Again and Again is essentially, when you really step back after you've heard them and you look at them, Again and Again is essentially just a reprise or reprise, because I hear it pronounced both ways. But it's essentially a reprise of Again. You have Again, which is how long is it? I think like 6 or 7 minutes, something like that.
Again is 6 minutes.
6 minutes. Okay, so you have Again, and Again is about 2 minutes or so. It's just a condensed version, and so you know you have reprises or you have reprises on albums, and you go.
We're gonna say reprise.
I keep hearing it both
ways. We're gonna say reprise.
It wasn't until a few months ago when I heard someone say reprise, I was like, have I been pronouncing this wrong?
Who would say reprise?
I don't know. I've never been taught how to say it. I just thought it was reprise.
You know what? I don't care if I'm uneducated or uncultured or whatever. It is reprise. I'm American.
Well, whatever it is.
What is this? Reprise. No. It's a reprise. What are we talking about?
That's cold. But no, however you pronounce it, Again and Again is essentially that. But listening to it on the album, it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like the reprise. It feels like it. Honestly, it feels like Again if you just had Again by itself.
It's still a good song.
That'd be great. You'd be able to go to bed. You'd be able to get saved. You'd be able to have your day fulfilled, worship, fall out, speak in tongues, prophesy, you know, lay prostrate, all that.
Yeah, you can shout to that.
Yes, you could. But it feels like, again, for as great of a song as that is, it feels like Again builds up to Again and Again. It feels like the purpose of Again, the reason for Again's existence is so that we can have Again and Again.
Man,
for whatever reason, it's 2 tracks. It just feels like Again and Again is the end of Again, and I think it's masterful. Don't get me wrong. That's not a criticism. I think it's masterful that it just happens to be 2 tracks.
Don't get me wrong. You do need both to hear what they're really saying in Again, to appreciate Again and Again.
Yes.
However, like when you have that idea in there, like, okay, I don't really know how, and I have no clue when, but I just know God's going to do it again. If he did it before, he'll do it again. And then you take that thought and then you expound on it sonically.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you said, or I don't know if you said this yet, of like, the idea of like, oh no, this is actually going to be an encore.
Yes, yes.
Like this is actually like God is coming to do this again. We thought the curtain closed and the show was good and whatnot, but what if he comes out and does it again?
Yeah.
And again and again. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And I love that. I love that language. I love that language that he uses. It's going to be an encore. Like if you hear he'll come through again and again and again and again. You understand what that means. But to hear encore, there's a certain image that comes into your mind when you hear that here we go, we're gonna do it again. And also consider this: when you get an encore, when you go to a show and there's an encore, that doesn't just mean that there's more. That means it's gonna be so good, so great that it's gonna bring you to your feet and cheer and applaud. Imagine God doing the encore, something that's going to bring you up and bring him praise over what he's done again.
That's actually kind of crazy.
Like, that's insane.
It's also really interesting because like when you think about it like that, like somebody like a music act does something really cool, right? They do a really, really good show. And like, easy, like that was really good. And you can give them a standing ovation and whatnot. But then think about the way you have to get them to do an encore. You have to literally cheer, say their name over and over, cheer super hard.
Oh gosh. Bro,
do I need to say more?
Another lyric that I really loved, and I love it for two reasons. I'll tell you why. The lyric is, I've been down before. I was born at the end. Never learned how to fly. Loneliness was my friend.
That's really sad.
It is. But I'll tell you why I love that lyric. Number one, because it shows why it only contributes to the theme of why we need to focus on God and expect him to be able to do the again and again and again and again. With everything that we're burdening, that's not the time for us to cower and say, this life just ain't for me. That's the time to cling to God more and say, no, God, I really need you to come through. Come on for me. But the other reason I love that is because Kirk has this thing about him where he very often does he do it. He's done it on this album and he's done it on other albums as well, in other songs, where he personifies those human feelings and those gifts from God. Love, grace, fear, loneliness, and many other things. He personifies them as if he's talking to them. Even something else that Kirk says at the very end, he says, and this is something that I should have written down. What was it? How did it go? Fear, don't let me miss this door. So he's talking to fear as if it's a person. Fear, don't let me miss this door.
He's always been very good at that.
And then we have the final song on this album, Somebody's Son, which is, to me, a song about insecurities, acceptance, and assurance. I don't know if I'll feel this way later. And I think even now it's difficult for me to say this because, as you can tell, I love so many of these songs on this album. Like, I really love these songs. This one might, however, like I said, I might change this later, but this one might be my favorite.
These last three songs are my favorite songs on the whole album.
I feel like anybody who has ever dealt with any sort of insecurity can relate to this song. Whether your story is similar to Kirk's or whether you have an entirely different experience, just the fact that you wrestle, not just experience, but wrestle with insecurities, that you regularly battle and fight insecurities. If you do, I feel like this song resonates well because that's what it is about. Dealing with those insecurities. Some of the lyrics here, I think right out the gate, just hitting off the song. I was born a mistake.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I was born a mistake, a sin they couldn't erase, a secret hidden half a century. I look for you. Do I look like you? questions children cry out in their sleep. And then knowing Kirk Franklin, knowing the incredible artist that he is, you can be sure that this probably resonates well to him. I give up every trophy that I've won just to be somebody's son.
Yeah, that line was like kind of crazy, to me at least, because while right after I watched the documentary, I was watching like a bunch of his interviews, um, and like he was just he was obviously talking through all of that, and still after watching the documentary, I always wondered, like, people say, of course, it's so typical in church of like, there's a plan and there's in God's will and whatnot. And while that is all correct, don't want to take anything away from that. I do always wonder, like, hey, I do wonder, like, with all of Kirk's success, with with his albums being as big as they were, being one of the biggest gospel artists ever, um, would he have, with all the awards, would he have traded any of that for the life that he really wanted, which is to have two loving parents and a two loving parents and some siblings, and a normal childhood, you know what I'm saying?
And in answer to that, here's the clincher though. And this is crazy. And I don't say this to be super spiritual or anything like that. But just stepping back at it and hearing everything that you're saying and thinking about it all. Here's the crazy thing about that. I think God knew that if we had a choice in that we would say, God, is there another way? And here's the proof in that.
Take this cup from me.
Yes, yes. If you could take this cup of suffering away from me, But remember, because it was God's will for him to take that cup, it led to the cross, which then led to the resurrection, which then led to the crown and the throne. And kind of like what you're saying, objectively, we looking at everything, we assume that they have the crown and the throne. And maybe from a certain perspective, maybe that is in that field, in that platform, in that on that stage, in that arena, maybe that is the crown, maybe that is the throne. But either way, in order to get to the crown, to get to the throne, you have to have the cross. You have to have the cross. God's son was not spared from the cross, so why would we think that we would be? That doesn't make it easier. That doesn't make it feel good. And oftentimes that doesn't even mean that it's going to be fair, or at least not from our perspective. But
that's why the last lyric of the whole album is probably the best one. Like,
with each limp, my race I have to run, but I guess so did your son.
Like, that kind of, to me, sums up the whole rollout, the album, the documentary, all of that, the emotions, all of that, of like, I like what we were saying, like, if any of us could choose having a normal life or going through, like, even having a normal life has its heartaches.
Yeah.
And it'd be great if we, if God was like, hey, you're going to have a 2-parent household, but then this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Or you're going to have a 1-parent household, or you're going to be adopted. Any of those heartaches or those traumas that come with it, if God would have let us know that ahead of time before we came to earth, we probably all would have been like, nah. Matter of fact, I might just chill up here with you this whole time. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Also, earth, ghetto, don't need it. So,
yes.
Like, if we were to know the issues that we were going to face, we probably wouldn't do it. But is that Christ-like? Because he actually knew what was up. Yep. He actually knew the purpose of why he was here.
Yeah.
So I think the whole and again we could go deeper and deeper and deeper on this subject, but everything you had said to me in caps is what that lyric is about, and what that lyric is about is what this whole album is about.
One question that I asked myself was, would you be able to have this album even if you didn't have the documentary? And I think that if it wasn't for this song, if it wasn't for Somebody's Son, you could have the documentary, but you don't necessarily need it to understand the album. But because you have Somebody's Son, you have to have the context of the documentary. Otherwise, it's not going to make any sense. Oftentimes, my question whenever I'm watching any art, whether it be film, theater, literature, music, dance, visual art, photography, whatever it is, I often ask myself, what did the creator, what did the artist go through in order to make this? What inspired them? What led them to make this? And I think that you could still ask yourself those questions if it wasn't for Somebody's Son. You could still ask yourself for each of these other songs here, but because you have Somebody's Son, the best one of the best things you could do to get the answer is the documentary. So that's the album. As a whole, what do you think of it, and what would you rate it on a scale from 1 to 10?
So I think so. It's been out like what, a little under a month, like a couple of days under a month or something like that.
As of now, yeah.
Yeah, when we're recording, and not when by the time it's posted, it's probably be like a little over a month, right?
Yeah.
I think that I am a lover of art in general, and good art, you can't like giving it a rating fast, like it just doesn't do the album justice, because a mark of a true album is like, to me, upon revisits, re-listens, re-watches, what more am I finding? What more deep-seated thing am I pulling off that I'm uncovering? And you get to know more about the art as time goes on. Like a mark of a good album is like, oh, that wait, I never even heard that before. Let me like, oh, this is new, and it's always has this element of new because there's so much in it. So like, I do think that there's a lot in here, but I think I also need proper, like even more time to like live with it, to listen to it and all that. However, for where I am now, I think I would still give it like a 7.6.
Okay.
7.8. 7.8.
Okay. Okay. That's good. I'm gonna give it again with where I am right now. I think you're absolutely right in regards to that. With where I am right now, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. There are eight songs in this album that I really, really love out of the 10. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10. You are right when it comes to any sort of art. There is something about it being made in that time. There was something about 2023 that allowed for this to be made, just like there was something about 1998 that allowed this to be made. There was something about Kirk in 98. There was something about music in 98, gospel music, ministry, and things of that nature in 98 that allowed that to be made. Likewise with this, there was something about this time period that allowed this to come out. And we have it. So as of right now, we look at it with our perspectives and ideas and critiques of it for now, with where we are and with where time is right now. But as time goes by and as we progress and evolve and things of that nature, that's a very, very valid and strong point. Where will it be? How will it set for us, rather? How well will it hold up in 5, 10, 20 years from now? So I am looking forward to seeing that.
I think that, like, yeah, what you just said, like where we are with it, like we also have to give it a chance to grow with us. Not like let it grow on us, but like let it grow with us. Like what you just said was crazy, holding up New Nation. Like as a kid, like I never really paid attention to many of the slow songs. It was Give Me Revolution,
Yep.
Give Me Praise Joint, Give Me Gonna Be a Lovely Day. Yeah, give me the bangers.
Yeah. Even Lean on Me. Oh, really?
As a kid, okay, like I guess it had a moment, like
Okay.
to
Okay.
open up your heart and say, like that was cool, that was cool, that was cool. But like as a kid, it was still like give me the bangers,
I
give me
got
the
you.
bops. I want to dance.
Yeah.
Um, but now being older and letting that album grow with me, and now like having my own life experiences of like, oh, okay, now I see the importance of a hold me now. Now I see the importance of like a he loves me. Now I see the importance of like what is it? Can I? What is that song called?
I can.
I can. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's another one. You are. Woo.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You gotta, you gotta live a little life before you know, like, Jesus, you are my joy and friend.
Yeah.
Really hits.
Yeah.
Like you hear this as a kid, it's like, all right, yeah, like my best friend who I go play basketball with. And it's like, no, bro, like it don't hit the same. Like,
Yes.
um, but yeah. So with that said, we need time for this. Cause like if you hear any song, if you intake any art form and you watch it the first time and you're like, I get it and I understand the whole thing, typically you're not gonna pick it back up because normally that's also what we call boring.
Yeah.
Like I get it in this first listen, like okay, cool. But like the one that you're like, whoa, there's so much in here. I didn't even hear that the first time, or now this hits different. What
Yeah.
New Nation came out in
98.
98.
25 years ago. Goodness.
Think about that. That's crazy. Same
Goodness.
thing for what Rebirth had always didn't bang to me. I'll
Mm.
spend my always with you. That didn't go crazy. Give me brighter day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me brighter day and Hosanna. But now, my life, my love, my all,
Yep.
cold. Now I'm calling those songs bangers.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas before I would have called those sleepers. But
Yeah.
now, like life is different. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And to that point, I'll say this as well. I think that something that was always there, but I was made consciously aware of it after this album came out, Father's Day, is something about Kirk's music. And again, I think that that we're able to talk about it because we literally grew up with it. Where Kirk's music is sort of transformed into different things. I think that they were always all of these things, but you can sort of see the evolution of those things playing out in our lives as we got older and matured. Where as kids listening to his albums, they started off as entertainment, just being energetic kids bouncing off the wall. We wanted entertainment. For me, becoming a teenager in my middle school and high school days, and starting to learn more about having a relationship with God, trying to deepen my faith, it became more ministry. Then going to college and learning, studying art, the concept of what does it mean to be an artist, what is good art, and things of that nature. Then it became art to me. And then later on, becoming an adult and having more experiences and complex emotions and relationships and things of that nature, now it's becoming therapy.
I think mine was similar. I think the middle two would be switched. Like as a kid, like you said, like give me the bops, give me revolution, give me stomp, give me all gonna be a lovely day. All of that. Because it was just fun.
Yeah.
Then like later on, I was like, okay, wait a minute. Cause I got I thoroughly enjoyed art, especially in high school and college. I was outside a little bit. So it was like, okay, I do see how Kirk is an artist, like how he crafts, especially like the bangers, but how he also had different sounds and instruments. Like I really like what is it off of fighting the fight of my life, where it's like I am God, and he threw a rock song in there. And it was like, okay, you're expounding and you're doing different art forms inside of here, and you wanted to have these sounds of the drums, and you wanted to have these sounds for your slower worship songs, and you decided to dip and sample from secular music and form it and make it gospel. So like I see the art in here of what you're doing and how you play with sounds.
Mhm.
And then after being outside, finding some of these other songs, these like deep cut songs, where I'm like, oh no, this is ministering to me.
Yeah.
Like this is actually kind of crazy. Finding the He Loves Me, the Always, the Help Me Believe, all of those songs are like, oh, whoa.
Mhm.
To now, yeah, where it's like it does turn into more therapy of like, okay, especially from a internal ministry standpoint, or trying to help other people, or stuff that I need for myself.
Then there it is. That's Father's Day. For those of you who are watching, what did you think? What did you think of the documentary? What did you think of the album? How would you rank this in regards to Kirk's other albums? Which song did you like the most? Let us know what you think, and then stay tuned for the next episode of the Gospel Disciples. I promise I'll try to get the next one out to you on time, but hopefully you enjoyed this. And with that, we'll see you next time. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Peace.